Hey guys, Howard here from Lighthouse Outdoor Products and the Dying Arts Project. Hey, I did a fold yesterday of a fitted sheet, and today, as promised, I am going to do a tutorial of tying that up. So we have a queen-sized folded fitted sheet right here. What we did yesterday was we went ahead and folded this into a 16-point mandala airplane fold, and this is the result. I took a little bit of time off camera and flattened everything out a little bit and made sure the folds were nice and neat under here, and flipped it around a couple of times, and you may see me doing it, working it a little bit more. As you work down and you keep everything neat down here, the bigger your design will be and the more symmetrical it'll be as well. So yesterday when we did the fold, we tried our best to make sure we had a nice straight line here for all of the folds, and we did a pretty good job. So this will come out really nice. Hopefully, we all hope. And yeah, and then we'll do the flat sheet as well, and a couple of pillowcases. I actually may do a tutorial on the pillowcases because there's a little bit of nuance with doing the pillowcases depending on what kind of design you want to get. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do some guidelines. Now what I do is I do guidelines, and well, in life there's guidelines and you don't necessarily follow them, but you know, you try to do your best. So, and that's what I do here when I'm folding and I'm tying, is I use some guidelines and I try to do the best. But sometimes life just goes, and so does the sinew. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got sinew right here, and I also have some pens. These are good old Crayola washable pens, so I don't have to worry about that. And what I do is I stretch out my sinew like this. I take one of the smaller pens, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this over here. Bring it down a little bit there. There we go. And what I will do is I'll use the sinew and the pen, wrap this around a little bit. And what I'm going to do is mark off a couple of lines. Now, as you're working your way down on the sheet, there's going to be a point where you meet the sides, and you don't necessarily want to have your design flowing over your sides. So with that in mind, try to keep a lot of the, the design kind of more up front. And so if you want to do a nice little intricate design right in the middle, you use about that much of it. Or if you want to keep on going and have a full design within the sheet, then you can go out more as well. So what I do is I use some guidelines, try to find out where the maximum point I could go on this sheet without kind of going over. And then I put my finger right on the end there, and I draw a line. And a lot of times we use the word sacred geometry, and of course this is a great way of getting a complete round circle by creating this type of action. It's kind of cool. So again, I'm just kind of going with what I feel and marking off specific lines. I'll do 4 or 5 of them up and down a sheet. There we go. Maybe one more. All right. So there. Now I have my center lines, or my circle lines, that I can work with. And I also use them as guides. So the next thing I like to do is kind of work from the top of the sheet into the center with my lines. And when you are working with an airplane fold, which this is, then you're going to have 2 folds on this side and several folds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 folds on this side. And the 8-fold side is going to be your main top point. So looking at the mandala behind us here, so that top point right there is on the 8-folded side. There we go. 8-folded side right there. So with that in mind, this is the side that I have all of my folds on. And this is where I've kind of arbitrarily marked my final point. And I may feel it out and come in a little bit closer. And then I'll go ahead and I'll just draw a line out. Now again, the sharper your line, the bigger your point's going to be. So here I've got a nice sharp line. It looks really nice on a sheet when it's nice and sharp at the end. And again, using the using the geometry and the math, you want to build your points out from a smaller point into a larger point. So I start here, I do a fairly large point, and then I'll come in here and I'll just kind of draw out from there. Now my off-center points are generally less pronounced than my center points, and that's just kind of my style that I've grown to do. Some people use that, will match them up so they're all looking the same, which is really great effect as well. And I'll do that occasionally. Absolutely. So here I'm just marking out some guidelines of tapestry, of this tapestry's life here. This tapestry started as a, corny as it sounds, as a plant, as a piece of cotton grown in a field and manufactured and produced and made into a fabric. And this is not an organic fabric. It is a sheet from Target, but still it's 100% cotton, and which is fine. But it started out as a plant. Now it's morphed and metamorphosed into a tapestry that is going to be on somebody's bed. So this has manifested its change throughout the universe into art. And I get to help that as well. So we have some marks here. I'm going to keep on going. Again, this is more pronounced right here. This is a sharp point, and this is going to be less pronounced. And now I'm right at about this point here, which when you're looking at this center mandala, what will likely happen with this as I start wrapping it up is I want to get about 12 to 15 wraps in my dream catcher. Then my lines are going to start ticking off from there. So I'll kind of stop here, and then somewhere here we'll meet in the middle on my lines, and the design will take its shape. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This is 5-ply sinew. And get it on Amazon. I may or may not seek a different venue for my sinew if I could get it directly from the company. All right, so I start out by grabbing it, and I just am pinching the material. I'm trying to match everything up here. Of course, if you start off nice and straight, then it's going to continue. However, when you're really in the center of your dream catcher, it's pretty small at that point anyways. So I wrap it 4 or 5 times, and then I wrap it again, and I'm just pulling it tight. And then from here, we have something that looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and just tilt this down. There we go. So we have something that looks like this, which is just the tie at the top. And then I usually go on the side that has the least amount of folds, and I'm pulling up and I'm wrapping it around. I'm trying to keep pressure on it, and I'm making a triangle here. So here I have a little triangle. I pinch it with my fingers and I pull it tight. I may put it on the table and do that as well. Those of you that have seen my videos see that I do that often. I'm not working for perfection here. I'm just working for a start, and then I do I repeat the same thing. These cotton sheets are a little bit slippery, so it takes a little bit of finesse to get the first few started. I'm wrapping 2 or 3 times with this sinew. You can use thinner sinew as well, which works actually better for the really tight stuff. All right, so here I have my start, and I'm gonna just press it and pull it, and this kind of sets everything. Wrap it again and pull it again. There, now from there, I'm basically set up. I've got 1, 2, 3, and I'm starting my triangles, and my guides are still in place. I'm checking those. Also checking, trying to keep everything in line and keep everything pinched. And I'm putting pressure on as I wrap. There's a little nuance that you do when you get to this point and you want your lines really touching, is you kind of just set it, and then you wrap it, and then you pull. So I'm keeping pressure up. And it's interesting when you start to delve into different styles and use different materials, it helps you go back to your original. So with sinew, you don't necessarily have to keep continuous pressure on the sinew, but other times you do, other materials, especially if you're using a non-waxed material. So, however, when you're using sinew, it helps. It helps keep everything tight and everything nice and close together. So I wrap with pressure. All right. So this is looking pretty good. Again, from here at this point, I just pull it up and set it, and then I pull it. here we go. So we've got a nice start to the Dreamcatcher center. I'm kind of pushing everything out and flattening it out as I'm going along. I'm keeping pressure on the folds. I set it. Once it starts getting a little bit larger, I can start pulling it instead of setting it on the table. Although the great thing about setting it on the table is it keeps everything flat and flush. Now I generally tie with the material and the main folds facing me and try to just keep everything in front of me. Try to keep the material flat behind. Try to keep all of my guides in place. You know, the devil's in the detail. Okay, so I'm at this point and I'm at my first line. I'm going to keep on going because I have a nice run going on here. Do one or two more and then we're going to start on the main mandala shape. Let's bring this one up. And it's okay if you're folding over like that. You see how that's folded over? I put a little bit of pressure on it and then I straighten everything out, try to get it straight. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, following this guide and also just following experience, I'm going to go ahead and just do my own center line out without a guide, because that's how life is. Sometimes you have to go at it on your own without a guide. You have to use the force. All right. Force of the universe. So there, I have a center dream catcher that is basically like that has been set up for a sheet, for a fitted sheet that I folded yesterday. We're going to go ahead and run this up, and it shouldn't take that much longer. So we're flattening everything out. We're going to take our pen and bring up our first point. I have a couple of ways I can do this point. The larger your separation, so if you're doing a 12-point star, then you have more material. So generally what I do is I pinch the top here. I pinch the two lines together. So there's one loop here, and I bring my sinew around, and I'm keeping everything tight, and I'm pulling up. So it's setting the material as close to the Dreamcatcher center as possible. I tighten it up a little bit, and then I come and I flatten it out a little bit and make sure it's good. I could flatten it out completely, which makes for a little bit different design. We're going to keep it like this right now. What I'm not doing on this point is I'm not doing any other lines on here. I'm going to go straight to the next point. Now this is the point that's going to be coming off of the first points of your Dreamcatcher. And I'm going to follow this line right here that I already have. Take a look at my folds here and make sure everything is kind of still close to the center. It's not too bad. Now, when I'm doing these type of folds, what I'll do is I'll flip the whole thing around. So let's see, best way to do this. I will try it this way. This will work. So here I'm just pushing everything together and I'm creating a accordion fold. So I'm bringing up an accordion fold. I'm actually not crazy about that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to flip it. Make sure you guys can still see back here. So now I'll go ahead and do an accordion fold here. It's a little nuance. But the ultimate goal is to get a good separation here, a good triangle nodule, along with some symmetry and close proximity to your other point. This is going to be the space in between your main point. So now that I have that, I'm going ahead and wrapping the nodule here, the nub, and this is the point. This is going to be a nice big point off of a point that's a non-center point, off-center point. Okay, so there we have our Dreamcatcher center with a point off of the Dreamcatcher and then an off point, an off-center point. And then we followed our guides, and then we went off course and didn't follow those guides quite, you know, and on our own for a little bit, and then it brought us right back on course. So now we're right back at the points that we've been using. That's how life is. You have to decide to make change. There's principles for that. Principles for manifesting change. First principle is passion. What are you changing to? Why do you want to change to? What's your passion? Second is action. And all the time is meditation and reflection and self-reflection and improvement and all that good stuff. Just like when you're doing art. So I'm going to flip this around. Unfortunately, we are not conditioned for that. So most of us find it hard to make that type of change or even think of that direction. The reality is that it's hard work, whatever it is. There's no such thing as meditation or visualization without action. It's like when you get sick, you want to be healthy of mind, but you also want to do everything possible, anything possible to heal. It's the same thing in life. If you're unhappy in a rented career, then buy your own. And that doesn't necessarily mean with money. Or work, be passionate. Okay, so there we have some nice starting mandala lines. So I've been learning to set these as well, too, when I'm doing the run-ups on the points. It helps for, again, to have that more symmetrical look. Okay. We're going to go ahead and bring the next one up. I think this is going to be a fun shape because it's going to have good off-center points. And if your off-center's not good, then how can your center be good? Am I talking about my tie-dye again? Or life? good read is called The Laws of Manifestation. It's kind of esoteric and hippie, but it has a lot of insightful information. You don't need to do drugs and you don't need to open up your mind necessarily. But you do need to visualize and you do need to take action. When you visualize and you have passion and you take action, those actions are driven by that passion, and it's not work. It's not treacherous on your life. It's just your life. All right. So we're 31 minutes into the tutorial and we're at our last point. So I think we're doing pretty well. Now what we're going to do here, and since we have a really nice lineup, I'm going to just keep this forward going, and I'm going to use this next point here, and I'm going to use this line here as my outside circle. Through every challenge, there is a huge opportunity for growth. And if we didn't have any challenges, then we wouldn't grow. So it makes complete sense, right? Doesn't it? So this is our circle, and the nice thing about this, and just the way it lays out again, is the circle is on the same center point as the center mandala, which is not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's a design choice, and you get different effect. So the tapestry behind me is a center point like this, and it will extend the shape of the mandala point in the front to the other side of the circle. That's fine. We don't need to do that. So now we're on the last fold and the point, the mandala point, and using my guides again. So see, I've eaten up this one. So now I'm venturing into new territory. Just as in life, when you venture into new territory, you just want to make sure everything's nice and straight. So something hasn't ventured off course a little bit, gone on its own and wanted to do its own thing. Let's flip it over and make sure. So, checking again. We're not perfect, but we're pretty close. It's gonna have to do. I'm gonna chart a new course, not go on my own. There, now I have a new direction to follow. And I'm gonna go ahead and start right in the middle here and match my point up. Mark this material up. Okay, how does that look? We good? Okay. So I'm gonna bring this up under. I'm keeping it nice and pinched, and I'm bringing it tight up around. I'm gonna bring it around and squeeze up all the way to the top there. Now, if you want to mess around, you want to have fun and do a straighter line and do a little bit more separation, you actually do get really cool results from that. Making sure things are nice and symmetrical. So this is feeling pretty good about this sheet and about our little conversation. All right, let's tighten this up. Everyone's self-expression about how they're feeling and about what's going on in their mind is medicine, deep medicine. And it's interesting that tools like Facebook help, helps. Get it out there. There are people out there. Everyone loves you. Everyone that you want to love you does. Hopefully. All right. So there we have a fitted sheet that has been tied into a pretty intricate symmetrical design that is shaped into a 16-point mandala. These are super tight. Now you actually could ice dye this if I wanted to. However, I'm not really an ice dyer, and what I do is I use syringes like this, and I go very gently all throughout this design to apply the dye. I use jars, with the dye in them, and I'll mix as I'm going, so I get different results. But using the same main colors, I get a lot of same color designs. But there's no ice involved. This is a pre-soda ashed garment sheet. It is dried. It was pre-washed. It was dried. It was soda ashed. It was dried, and then it was tied, and then it will be dyed probably tomorrow. What I'll do with the rest of this material here if I wanted to put in a final design like here, I could, or put a final design here, which would be an extrusion off of the mandala. I'll probably do that on the main sheet, but on this sheet, I think we're just gonna keep it simple. And I'm gonna bring all this material together. I'm gonna do one more fold here, then I'm gonna bring all this material together and go ahead and put rubber bands around it, and then it'll look like a nice crinkle fade just around the bottom and around the side. But the main part of the mandala is right here. We'll probably will not do a video of the application. That does take quite a while, but at least you got to see how the sheet turned into a mandala from here, and the fitted sheet tutorial that I did yesterday shows you how to get it into the initial shape for tying. I hope that helped, guys. I hope that helps, guys. Again, this is Howard, the Dying Arts Project and Lighthouse Outdoor Products. Please visit our site. Every little bit helps, and we appreciate it. Maybe you got a little life lesson here. That's something that I've been using. That laws of manifestation, I've been using that since I was 23 years old, and my friend Mark handed me the book and I read it, and guess what, it works. But it's not easy. It takes a lot of hard work. Learning how to do this takes a lot of hard work. Learning how to start a business takes a lot of hard work. And sitting at a cubicle, working and being passionate about something you love, even if it is a company, well then do the best you can and visualize success, guys, and it'll be easier. Thank you. Love you all. And well, we'll see you hopefully out on tour, right? All right, let's do it.